What I did find difficult was the imposter syndrome. I wasn't sure I was going to try to publish it. I liked it, but I didn't know if anyone else would like it or want to read it. It took me a little bit of time to actually get to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm just going to put it out there. And if no one reads it, no one reads it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Writing Inspiration with Markee Books. I'm your host, D.W, and here we have our new guest for today. Say hello to D.W Brooks. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. So, how do you feel today?
Feeling pretty good. It actually rained here, so I'm happy for that.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
We can talk about that in a bit. So, when did you start your career? How did you become a writer?
It was a long journey. I actually decided at age 8 that I wanted to be a writer, and my cousins and I decided that we were going to write a children's mystery series. So, well, yeah, it was 8-year-olds. So we really didn't know what we didn't know. But we did create what I guess in today's terms would be considered a story Bible, where we created our characters, talked about who was friends with who was related to who. So we had all this stuff written down. So supposedly it was going to make it easier for us to write our stories. And this is also an artist, so she had pictures of what all of our characters look like, and we started writing. We had lots of dot matrix paper because both of my parents computers, so we would staple it so it would look like a book, and we would start writing, but we didn't really have any ideas about plotting or no rhythm of writing or anything. So we only had a bunch of half written books, which we ended up putting in the attic, and we all went on to doing other things. And I'm a kidney transplant recipient. So when I started having issues with my kidneys, I really wasn't able to do a lot of things. I was really tired and not feeling well. And it struck me that, I could actually use this time, since I had a laptop, to start trying to write again.
When did this happen?
I had my transplant in 2018. I started writing this around 2013, maybe early 14. So yeah, years later. So I thought that this would be a good something that I could do that didn't require a lot of physical exertion. Obviously, going back to writing kind of would come to my mind every so often, but I was doing other things. And I actually had morphed into a medical writer where I wrote needs assessments and continuing medical education for doctors, nurses, and pharmacists. So I was writing, but just not stories and things that I was making up. So it took some time for me to get back, but here I am.
Well, I'm happy that you did. Your covers look beautiful, by the way. I saw the other day.
Yeah, I have 100covers.com. As long as I can use them, my covers are going to resemble each other. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah. So are you like self-published or traditionally published?
I am self-published. I didn't really even think about traditional publishing, mainly because when I started writing, I'm an older writer, and I didn't really think that I had the time to go through the entire querying, looking for an agent, looking for a publisher process that can take some years. This way I could actually publish my books kind of on my own schedule and publish more than one or two or three or whatever on my own schedule. If I had started earlier, if I had returned to writing earlier, I might have considered trying to go the traditional route, but just timing didn't seem to be right.
Okay. So you are still pondering the idea for maybe the future. Doing hybrid publishing, it's not a bad idea too.
Yeah, I really hadn't thought about I hadn't thought about doing hybrid or traditional at this point. Like I said, I'm still an older writer, just getting older. So I think I'm just going to kind of continue in this way unless somebody comes to me, which, sometimes happens. I've seen other indie authors get picked up. And if that happened, then I would obviously look at that. But otherwise, I probably will continue as I am.
So, for your series, did your work got inspired by any other author?
Um, probably the closest would be Janet Ivanovich, who writes the Stephanie Plum um, novels. First one was One for the Money, and but I really enjoy her books, and I am a big mystery reader myself. So it seemed like the right thing for me to kind of get into the romantic suspense genre for my stories.
Nice. I don't know the series.
Which one? Janet Ivanovich's
Yeah.
series?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. They made one movie out of it. I think they thought they might do more, but it didn't work out. But that's okay. I'd rather read the books.
Yeah. Sometimes the adaptation it doesn't do justice.
Right.
Nothing we can
Very.
do.
That's true. That's true.
So, what do you think is like the most difficult thing you have to struggle with when you start this path?
Well, first, I mean, the actual writing of the book wasn't that hard in that I didn't have any deadlines or anything because I was just writing because I wanted to at first. And so I didn't have anybody saying, hey, you need to have this to me, or I need to have a certain number of chapters, anything like that. So the writing wasn't that difficult. What I did find difficult was the imposter syndrome once I finished, was that because I sat on it for a while. I sat on it, mainly because I had other things going on. My father had moved in with us and things like that. But I wasn't sure I was going to try to publish it. Didn't, I liked it, but I didn't know if anyone else would like it or want to read it. And I wasn't sure that I was willing to find out. It took me a little bit of time to actually get to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm just going to put it out there. And if no one reads it, no one reads it. But that was a hard thing to get past. And then once I actually did publish it, the whole marketing thing was just unpleasant. I don't enjoy the marketing because it's hard. You have to be out there all the time. And you have to think of different ways to find your readers because they're not just there. You have to look for them.
Yeah, usually we need to. So, how is your writing experience these days?
It's different than when I wrote the first book. Like I
Hmm.
said, I have now I'm imposing my own deadlines, but I actually do have deadlines that I'm trying to meet. And you still have some imposter syndrome because you write the next book and you look at it and go, oh, I'm not sure anybody's going to like this either. But I'm not as afraid to publish it. So I have like 4 works in progress open right now. So I just need to actually, I have myself on, I spent last month doing basically a month-long writing sprint. So I was hoping to get book 4, at least the first draft done. Didn't quite get there. So I'm doing another writing sprint this month to try to finish the first draft. And then I know there's a lot of things I need to go back and fix. I was leaving notes, I just wanted to get the ideas on paper, and then I can go back and clean them up and link them together where they may not be. So, I have to get the baselines down, especially when there's some element of mystery or a thriller element or what have you. You kind of have to get, the story beats down, and then you can go in and fill in the connective tissue and how they got there, fill in the conversations, fill in the questions. As you could sit there and wax eloquently forever about a specific thing, and then you've kind of lost the flow of what you. So I'm just trying to get, 70,000 words down, and then I can go back and do my first pass to kind of make sure that it flows properly. And that will be adding more words.
Yeah, I get it. So, do you feel like you changed it after you became a writer?
I don't think so because I've been working from home for years. So I have always, I mean, I've always been kind of working by myself. I do notice that being a writer is really a job that makes you into a loner because you can have friends and other things, but you're really just kind of in your own head, in your own computer, writing things yourself. I mean, you can do research and things like that, but nobody else, unless you're collaborating with someone, no one else is really in your head while you're writing. But I'm an only child, so I kind of spent a lot of my life in my head by myself. So this isn't that much different than what I started out with. So um, I think it's fun. But, all these stories that you have floating around in your head, trying to get them on paper, it's kind of fun too.
So, how long did it take to you to complete the first book?
3 or 4 years. I kind of got lost in there. Like I said, I would take a little break. 'Cause like I said, I was sick during the time, so I would take a break. Then I would come back to it, and I'd take another break and come back to it. But it probably took 3 to 4 years, and then I took another 3 years before I actually decided to publish it. So
How many pages did your first draft ended up having?
400.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
well,
always a
it's
lot.
yeah. Well, I can't really say much because it it's still. I mean, I did carve it down some, but that's my. It's right now. It's my only novel, and it is the longest thing I've written. It's got 400 pages now printed. So, yeah. But I like to say that it's not a heavy read. It's not. There's lots of sarcasm and joking in there, even though there's murder and kidnapping and some romance. It's a fairly easy read, and the reviews have said that it wasn't like heavy or creepy or anything like that. So that's what I was aiming for.
Yeah. Well, actually, I do get it because right now I need to like I was asked to divide my books in shorter because I have like 3 books with 500 pages, and my publisher they told me that I should like divide them maybe in
Mhm.
tinier books because
Yeah,
honestly I don't want to get to just take pages till I reach that number because it will be a
yeah.
waste.
Yeah, no,
So
I understand. I do understand. And some of the info that I took out of the first book ended up being the second book I wrote, but the first one in the series, the prequel, I ended up taking some of the stuff out of that and moving it into the prequel. So
I did that with a
it
flashback once.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am one of my works in progress. I said I was going to actually write a first person dual point of view romance, second chance romance, and whew, writing in first person is hard for me. I write in third person, but there's flashbacks in there too, so I'm trying to figure out how to actually put all this together. So I
Right.
understand. Yeah, I understand.
So, how do you say is your writing routine?
Oh, I wish I had one. I want one. I keep trying to set one up, but there's always things going on. I have a child with special needs who is still in school. I mean, she's in the adult transition program to try to get a job sometime soon. So she's in school. So I get up and have to deal with her, and then she comes home in the middle of the day, and then you have to stop and do things. And there's always something going on here. Somebody coming to the house for something or other, or you have to take someone to the doctor. So every time I try to come up with an actual routine, something always disrupts it. So I basically just write when I get a chance right
Yeah,
now.
I can get it.
Yeah.
Usually it's like that, I guess. Do you have like a particular advice you would say to new writers based on your experience?
Um, I wish somebody had told me this. Don't stop writing. Just write. Even if you're just writing in a journal or, just jotting down ideas, thoughts, just keep it going. Cause, after we put all of our attempted books in the attic, I left it alone. I spent 30 plus years not really writing. And I think that, that was a wasted opportunity. So if you think you might want to write, I say start. That's really all you can do is start. And the other thing is to find writer friends, because it is such a solitary thing. And if you are deciding to try to publish or try to go further with it, you need some people that you trust who can support you. Even, sometimes they may be further along in the writing journey. They may have some advice. Obviously, you still need to do your own research, but they can tell you what they did. They can cheer for you when something good happens, or if something bad happens, they can console you. It's good to have someone who's on your side while you're doing this, because you are so by yourself all the time.
Yeah, I need to work on that too. And many others, actually.
Yeah, I got really lucky. I ended up in a Instagram group with several other writers, and we kind of go through this together. Everybody's at different places, have published different amount of books, but you can go in there and ask a question or show a cover, or say, hey, I don't like the way this paragraph sounds. Or this blurb, what do you think? And they'll give you their idea, or the suggestions, or what have you. And if you're feeling hurt, they say, hey, I'm here if you want to call or whatever. So it's kind of nice. I got lucky, just found them out the blue.
Wow, that's great. Do you do anything in particular for dealing with writer's block?
I haven't officially had writer's block. I may not be, when I sit down, I may say, okay, this is what I'm going to write about. And that may not work, but I generally will just skip to something else. Like there's always something that I want to write. So I may say that, okay, I'm going to write the last part of this chapter. And I can't really think of what I want to say or make it flow correctly, but there's always a conversation in the story that I hadn't written. If I'm not done, that I can say, all right, well, I'll work on the next chapter right now. So I really haven't hit writer's block where I had nothing to write. And even if I don't like what I just wrote, the extra part, I can always put in another book. It's not like whatever I write won't find some place to be used somewhere at some point.
Yeah. So, do you have like a story of how you name your books?
I named it was actually a challenge. I kept bouncing it around with my husband. Because when I looked at Homecoming Chaos, the story, there was lots of things happening, lots of dramatic things. And I kept saying, well, I want to use the word chaos because that's kind of what the through line is in these stories. And just trying to figure out how to make that into a naming convention. My husband and I bounced it around for a while. And I kept saying, well, she's coming home. So Homecoming is appropriate, but I don't know. Homecoming Chaos, do I need more words? How does this work? So I decided to go with it. And the other two weren't that hard to name. Once I had the basic idea, it wasn't that hard to name them anymore.
Yeah, usually when you know the serious name, everything else comes easy.
Yeah, it just took a little while. Like I said, we bounced it around and kept trying to come up with other things that we ended up sticking with this.
So what do you think it's like the main message on your series?
That you can go home again, no matter how. There's several different messages, but the main one is that you can go home again, because my lead character had some significant things happen in her life, and she really hadn't dealt with them appropriately, and it had really altered her relationship with her mother. So she comes back home with the intention of trying to fix some of the relationships. And of course, it wasn't quite that easy. And that's kind of an ongoing thing that you can come home and you can try to fix things. And it's like I said, it's going to be kind of a through line through all of the stories because, I find that even if you all plan and everybody says, okay, we're going to work together and we're going to do this and never do that again and never argue with each other again or what have you. When people get stressed out or tired or what have you, you fall back in old habits. So even if you're apologetic for how your relationship fell apart earlier and you're working on it getting better, you can have a backslide at any point if other things outside come in. So I feel like that's something that can go throughout however long the series goes. You have some improvement, but it's a lifelong thing. It's like, that's why people go to therapy for long periods of time because you may know what you're supposed to do, but it's not always easy to actually do those things in the moment. So that's probably the main things. You can go home and try to fix things. So
Okay.
it's fun.
Can you tell us a bit about your most recent book?
My most recent book is Dating Chaos. In Homecoming Chaos, she was flirting, and she and the detective in the case were flirting, and they decided at the end of the book that they were going to try to go out on a date. And so Dating Chaos happens around New Year's. They're actually going out on their first date. And there are other things going on, like a relative that she hadn't seen in 20 years comes to visit, bearing secrets and drama. So, and her brother also has an unwanted ex-girlfriend lurking around. So all of this comes up in the book, but the main focus was the dating part, them actually trying to get to know each other and seeing if this might be something that they want to pursue.
Right. So, from all the books you have done, which one is your favorite?
I mean, I think Homecoming Chaos is my favorite because it was my first. I actually think I Do Chaos has more meaning to it. And, I've gone back and read it and I like the way that it establishes her relationship with her mother and her relationship with herself. So I feel like that's a good background into understanding why she does what she does moving forward in the other books. She doesn't always lead with her head. She does things because it feels right, and it's gotten her in trouble a lot. Even when she was younger, it gotten her in trouble. But that's kind of who she is. She does things because it feels like it's the right thing to do. And when she gets in over her head, she's like, maybe I should have thought about that. So she's trying to incorporate that, like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I think is right, but maybe I need to think about how this might impact me or how this could go wrong if I do it that way. So it's a process. It's a process.
So, what do you think like your biggest dream as an author right now?
I would like to have I would love to finish this series. I still have to figure out where my end point actually is, but I want to finish my romance, the chance dual point of view romance. And I'd love to write some mysteries because that was what I used to read. I read almost all of Agatha Christie and, Trixie Belden and Nancy Drew and all the Prey books and James Patterson, things like that. I love stuff like that. So I would love to have a series of those. That would be a dream come true.
When made you start like with romance?
Well, when I actually started writing it, it was going to be just a straight mystery. But when I started looking at the characters, I mean, obviously there was going to be a detective, because I always had intended for there to be a mystery there. And when the detective came in, I said, maybe I can add a little bit of romance because the romance and Homecoming Chaos is a lot of flirty banter and um, you know the chemistry's there, but they're arguing with each other a lot. So it seemed like it fit in the story. Like I said, I didn't want it to be too heavy either. I mean, I wasn't going to make it gory or anything like that. So I thought that it would be a good step to add a little bit of romance in there, and it actually seemed to work pretty well. So that's how I started with that. And I probably will continue having there be some kind of mystery in the story, even as they move forward in the relationship. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having, maybe a little bit more gory. Not really, but just a mystery without actual romance. I mean, that doesn't mean that there may not be a man and a woman who are attracted to each other, but not quite as much emphasis on that in the story.
Oh, no, that's completely fine. Okay, so have you ever tried other genres other than mystery and romance?
Me writing it? Oh. No, I read it, yes, but I don't. I I haven't had a story that came to me like I'm not a big fantasy reader. I actually will watch it on television, watch a movie, but reading fantasy always seems like it overwhelms me. I mean, if there's a story that comes to me that I think might be interesting, that I might enjoy writing, I might do something else. But right now, I don't have anything in my head that would fit that. So I read other genres, but I don't see myself writing a whole lot of other genres.
No, I understand. So, how much research do you think you made for your books?
Um, well, right now, I mean, I do some research, but I'm kind of at least like Homecoming Chaos. I was writing from some of my own experiences. Like I said, I'm a doctor by training, so my lead character is a doctor. So that's some of the things I was writing. I was writing from what I already knew. I did have a couple of a police officer and an FBI agent go through my book to make sure that I wasn't making the police and their investigation look like a farce. You go and you look up things. I mean, I have books about police investigations and things like that. So you use that, but I wanted to have some actual people go and look at it and say, okay, no, they wouldn't
Yeah,
do
I
that.
can imagine you writing someday some forensic medical book.
Hey, it's on the table. It's on the table. Because
I have seen some TV series about that,
yeah,
resolving mysteries through forensic science.
yeah. I mean, I mean, Quincy was that a long time ago, and then there's the CSI
Yeah,
shows, and they're obviously exaggerated because most of the stuff can't be done that fast, but they have to get it done in 45 minutes. So
especially the
um,
trial part.
yeah, none of that happens that fast. But you also get some leeway in your books because people. I mean, there obviously will be some people who read it and go, "Oh, that couldn't possibly have happened," or "Oh no, that didn't happen that fast," or "Why did you say that?" But most people, at least in my experience, kind of will let, if it's not too egregious, will kind of let some of the details because they could imagine in their heads that yeah, that may not be the way it should have happened, but I could see that happening. And they keep reading because they're not really trying to pick you apart. As long as they're enjoying what they're reading, they kind of let that go. So the current book that I'm writing is about Savannah. So I actually am trying to schedule some time to actually fly up there and fill in some of the atmospheric things from there.
Have you thought on any short story spin-off, or once this series is over, you'll just close to the new one?
Probably be some when I actually finish it, it'll probably be done. However, one of the things that I wanted to do because there are other sub characters. Like my lead character has a brother and a sister, one of my works in progress is about her brother. He's the lead character. She's in the story, but not really. She's not really doing anything. You mentioned her. She pops up. She's at dinner or what have you. But the story is mainly about her brother and his horrible dating life. And there are other people that I may do smaller spinoffs on. Just depending on how the overall story flows. I don't see an end to her in a detective story quite yet. So there's probably a couple more books coming out of that. And if something that strikes me about her sister, I will love to write a spinoff for her as well. I had several people actually say we want stories about the siblings too. So please write a novella or a novel about the siblings. We want to know what they're doing in their lives. So trying to incorporate that in as well.
So, I wanted to ask you about that. What has been like your top experience with readers till now?
The first two I did not do any ARC reading or anything like that. But with Dating Chaos, the last book, I actually sent out advanced reader copies, and it was fun in that most of the people who filled out reviews enjoyed it. There were a few that were kind of like, yeah, because I didn't like third person, so it was kind of hard for me to read things like that. But um, I've I now have some readers who went back and bought the first two after reading Dating Chaos, and I put up videos about it. Or if I post something, they reply and say, I can't wait till the next book. When is it going to be finished? So that was kind of cool to actually have a few fans, a few actual fans. So that's been the coolest experience so far.
Yeah, it does feels nice to know that someone is actually waiting for your job.
Yeah, yeah. Waiting
Okay,
for the
okay,
next.
okay. Do you have another advice for fellow writers, but this one regarding like designers and book covers?
That's where friends and other writers come in handy. You can ask other people for recommendations. That's actually how I was turned on to my cover maker. Somebody mentioned that they had heard about them and that they seemed like they did a good job. My friend hadn't, that particular friend hadn't used them, but actually had heard of them. And so I that's how I cover designer. My editor, my well, she's my developmental editor. My husband has written a book and he directed her. So it's most of the things that I've used, other people, I've gotten suggestions from folks. So advice is to ask people that you know and then investigate, obviously go and, talk to them, text them, email them. And also if the fit doesn't feel right, you can always say no.
Right,
So,
exactly. So, how do you handle like marketing and stuff like that?
um, yeah, obviously you're on social media and, you are creating content a lot. So I'm still trying to make that a more smooth process. I also am trying to do more things. I mean, I like doing things like this because that gives you a chance to reach an audience that you may not see on social media. And also, I like doing other live events, like in-person events. This past weekend, I just did an author fair at a bookstore here in town. I have a couple more coming up next year, and I definitely want to do a couple of book signings at other bookstores in my neighborhood. But I think that those things are, doing festivals and things like that, or author fairs. I would say that unless you have a real problem meeting people, and some people do, I think that you should try to do some live things because social media I think, is only going to get you so far. But
Yeah, I
you kind of,
agree.
yeah, you kind of have to get out and find other ways to find your readers. There are lots of different ways that you can set things up and sell, I mean, I've heard of lots of different things like going to farmer markets and craft markets and things like that, where you can reach people that may not be on social media.
I have heard from previous guests here that one goes every Sunday to Walmart and just make a stand and try to
Yeah.
sell. Other
Yeah.
just make a stand in front of Barnes and Noble
Yeah.
and try to do that. And others just go to Comic Cons and events where people sell books.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and because you'll meet people that you would not meet otherwise. And, you can sell them your book. So that's a benefit.
And not
And,
everyone is clinically online.
right, right, right. So it's, because there are a lot of people who, especially if you go to an author fair, because that increases your odds of actually selling your book and finding people who might want to read what you write. Because when people come to author fairs, they're coming with the intention of buying or finding books. And on social media, I mean, you can try to narrow down your reach to people who are interested in books and things like that, but you might not get the right people. It's just in person, you have a chance to actually sell them. They see your social media posts. They don't necessarily get to talk to you. It may not catch their attention or what have you, but they walk up in front of you and say, "Hey, what's this about?" You can tell them about your book and be like, "Hey, that sounds interesting. Think I might buy that." And that doesn't mean that they're going to run home and read it, but it's on their shelf. They'll probably read it at some point, and then they might come look for you again and say, "Hey, I enjoyed that book. Where are your other books? You got more? I want those." So it's been fun doing the live events. So
that's okay. So, do you plan to go to an event soon?
Not February 1st. Yeah, I have another at least already planned. That's not saying that something else may not enter my calendar by then. But yeah, I was going to actually pull up whatever. Yeah, I have another event scheduled February 1st. It's actually a first time event, so it should be interesting to see how that goes. It's called the Muses of Romance, and it's going to be here right outside of Houston. So it should be a fun time.
Oh, you're in Houston.
Yes.
Oh, nice. It's very cold right now, right?
Cold? No. Oh, no. It cooled down for like 2 days to the 40s, but now I just checked my phone. It's like 72 degrees. Yeah, the weather here it leans toward hot or warm all the time, and lately we've been getting like a cold snap in February, and then it heats up again, and it's just hot.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, in what platforms we get your books?
My books are all available on Amazon and on KU. And you can also get autographed paperback copies on my website, author.dwbrooks.com.
Oh, yeah, I saw the website. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have like social media where people can like contact you with questions and stuff?
I'm on Instagram and Threads, and my my handle is at author D.W Brooks. Just at author D.W Brooks. I was about to give you the website again. So that's how you can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. And I'm on TikTok, and it's just D.W Brooks.
Nice. Are you making TikToks regularly?
I put things on TikTok regularly. Most of the time, they've been carried over from Instagram. I make a reel, I carry it over to TikTok. It doesn't always, I don't make a lot of, face videos. Yeah, I don't make a lot of face videos where I'm talking and things like that. I just try to use what I already have and see if I can make that work. And that's what I mean. I'm still trying to make it an easier process.
Well, I think that's all for now. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so very much for having me. And it was fun.
Thanks for coming to another episode of Writing Inspirations with Markee Books. This was our guest, D.W Brooks. Have a nice day and thanks for joining us. Like and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.